Thank God it's Monday. So happy to talk to you about how to apply yesterday's sermon to everyday's life. Well, yesterday, here are the three main takeaways of yesterday's talk. Number one, God speaks, but are we present where He speaks? Are we here? Number two, God speaks, but are we listening, not just hearing? I'll get to it. And number three, once you've heard God, are you actually ready to obey and to put into practice what you've heard? The story in the background of these main takeaways was the story of Samuel. It's in 1 Samuel chapter 3. And I want to encourage you to actually read this story, which is amazing because it really talks to you that God can use an 11-year-old. If nobody else will listen, God will take anyone basically who's ready to be there, to listen and to act, to obey, right? Samuel is there in the night and God speaks to him, calls him by name, and he thinks it's his adoptive father, Eli, who's a priest. So he goes to Eli a couple of times, and the third time Eli realizes it could be God. He tells Samuel to call out. The next time you hear this voice, say this: "Speak, Lord, your servant hears." Your servant listens. And then Samuel does exactly that, and God gives him a message which was not intended for Samuel, but for Eli. And it was a tough message. And then the next morning, Eli asks Samuel, and Samuel has to tell him the whole truth. And from there on, God appears to Samuel regularly because he was able to be there, he was able to listen and to act on it. Now let me give you a way to apply it to your everyday life. Here's a simple one. If you're by yourself, read 1 Samuel chapter 3 and then think along these lines. What speaks to me and what do I need to do? These are simple but tough questions. If you're in a community, connect groups, right? That's where I would urge you to actually be part of. Do this. Think about this. Samuel was present in front of a special lamp. That's where that voice came, where he was actually looking after a lamp that should have never lost its oil. So talk about this. Read 1 Samuel 3. Talk about this lamp, which was designed to represent the presence of the Holy Spirit, and discuss with each other what fills your lamp. What makes you, be you refilled with the Holy Spirit in order for you to be present where God speaks, to be present in the presence of the Holy Spirit. How can you be there? Like Samuel said, every time he heard the voice, he said, "Here I am." He was present. So talk about this being present where God speaks. And then once you've found out what actually makes everybody tick, how does everybody get into the presence of God, then hold each other accountable and say, how can we put it into practice this week? Thank you so much for listening and watching. I pray that you would encounter the living God this week and that He would speak to you and that He would be enable you to actually put it into the practice, and that will change your world. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.